Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Rational Investors Daily Brief Recap. It is Monday morning. It is the 2nd of December. November is now history. Coming into the end of the year, and anybody who's involved in the venture cap space or, really any kind of stock markets in general, but especially so in the venture cap space. But also, too, probably to a greater degree within the crypto space, crypto venture, altcoins, that kind of stuff. We're now sort of officially into tax loss selling season. And we're probably going to see a bit of pressure to the downside, just simply because people are dumping stuff for tax reasons, not fundamental reasons. The great part about that, of course, is once we get into January and the new year, then a lot of that often reverses. So as a result, those people that are interested in venture capital, this is actually your time when you really want to pay attention. It's the exact opposite. Like the crypto, everybody's super excited in through the spring and the summer, and usually we get crazy blow-off tops. Ironically enough, if you can actually plan to just simply buy when it snows, November, December, and then look to sell when it goes, April, May, June. And I've often found that crypto, it can often go on into the summer. You actually do pretty well in this world. It's a really simple seasonal approach to venture capital, and it's actually almost entirely tax-based. So with that said, our overview of the market this morning, we'll make reference to that in a bit about tax loss selling. But just simply put, out of the gate, we had some econs that came out sort of mixed bag. Manufacturing data is weak, but it's not as nightmarish as previously reported. I did see, Canadian data came in fairly weak too, and so Canadian data should basically mirror U.S. data. I did notice overnight, we had been talking for the past week or so about algos firing short signals and things like the euro. And we had a move stop to trailing level hit on that short last week. Actually, no, not just move stop to scratch. So as a result, those kind of short signals were told to basically hop off. Extremely violent price action. I mean, wicks and tails like to be eaten. You can see what's going to happen here down the road, but very, very choppy action. And ironically enough, this bear AB equals CD is still technically working. If we get another M that develops off of these levels, we could always look back on it. But I think that short idea in the European currencies has played itself out for whatever happened, whatever it's worth. Also, too, you see Japanese yen catching quite a bit here this morning. And, of course, stocks just getting thumped. It's interesting, though, what I found quite surprising about this, and this is kind of our risk-on, risk-off conversation, the bonds also got hit really hard here overnight. So we're seeing both stocks and bonds coming off together. Again, very screwy market state right now. But just our initial sort of intro to this review video, US dollar is coming off. But at the same time, too, everybody should look at this and go, well, that Beamish guy said that the top of the range is 99 and the bottom of the range is 96. And yes, the US dollar's coming off a big chunk, but all we're doing is just playing within this smaller range, within the bigger range. So we brushed up against these highs. Now my hunch is probably brush up against these lows. Creates like an expanding wedge kind of idea, and we still explore further in this massive range. Now, the interesting thing about this, like I said, is we've been talking about sort of a runaway stock market to the upside. We're finally starting to see some downside pressure there. The oil also came off a bit. Saudi Aramco, they're really trying to press this IPO. I think to a certain degree, they're kind of trying to keep oil prices up as much as they can to try and get that IPO done. But it's still very iffy, and OPEC, from what I'm hearing, they can't really decide. A lot of people are cheating. So as a result, way more oil is hitting the market than what OPEC sort of agreed to. And so as a result, we're seeing some pressure there in the oil market to the downside. So both oil and gold looking very toppy here. But like I said before, we also had the bonds get hit hard here. Now I wonder if to a certain degree, we can blame part of the stock toppy malaise, weak price action on Mr. Trump has decided to go back on the tariff rampage, and he's raised metal import tariffs on countries like Brazil and Argentina, and the talk, of course, is that more tariffs are coming for China. Who knows how that's going to play out? I do know that the Chinese own a big chunk of U.S. bonds, so I wonder whether the market knew that a huge sell order was coming down the pike there on the bonds, because they just gapped violently lower here this morning. Just huge dump. Thing is, we've talked about this bond market at length. I'm short from up top here, and I'm more than happy to continue riding this position. And these silly bond charts are just riddled with gaps, so don't be surprised if we're all over the place. We might even rally back up top here. But anyway, huge gap lower. Still more gaps to the downside. And frankly speaking, I'm not quite sure where the bonds want to go right here. That risk off kind of conversation, it's interesting. We're seeing tops come in stocks, not tops, but, exhaustion. And the gold is trying desperately to turn the corner here. And I've been cautioning quite a bit. Whoops, did we just lose the screen share? No, we're still there. Okay. Been cautioning of late how I'm really worried about the Japanese yen just falling out of bed, but pretty big counter trend rally here this morning. So we'll see how the yen holds in against this low level here. I mean, I certainly don't have any buy signals there on yen. But, if we're lucky, maybe gold can actually carve out this double bottom and actually form some sort of bottom in here. Did notice this morning, and I've added Newmont to our sort of gold matrix list here. Just because Newmont forever used to be the biggest gold stock in the world, and then Barrick usurped them. And I got a funny feeling that the people at Newmont don't like the fact that they're not the biggest gold stock in the world, because they just recently announced that they've got a $1 billion share buyback purchase program that they're going to initiate here. And my hunch is it's to do nothing more than just get that stock price back up so that they can say that they are the biggest gold stock in the world, yada, yada, yada. Politics aside, there is a pretty wide double bottom working here. Big rally, which of course sets up Brian's continuation pattern thinking, bots. And I notice we have a pretty powerful downtrend line, and here we are right up against that. And really, a la Julian's use of RSI, we backed up against an RSI trendline support. We're consolidating. You can see this breakdown. I'm simply just going to wait for the breakout, but I might actually go play this bot for a move up to 47, 48 bucks there on Newmont. Maybe look at an option or something in that regard. Barrick itself, kind of still doing this wishy-washy we kind of had portrayed here. Need to see a nice close if we go back to the daily chart. Need to see a nice close above this, what's that close there, 2263, so you can see we're bumping up against it. And if that W fires, it's on the other side of the trend line, big old buy signal. You can see RSI, of course, is bumping along, and actually we're starting to see some buyers come back here. So we'd like to see more than 3.9 million traded. So far we've done 3.16 today. So looking a bit more positive here for the gold space. And of course, I've been in there buying, bought a little bit of a junior gold stock. Not really anything to get too excited about right yet. But if gold does bottom, I keep typing in BGO. I remember BGO years ago. Anyway, Alio Gold, and interesting enough, BGO was bought out, but there's the U.S. stock. I'm in the Canadian stock in my retirement account. There it is, sitting 80 cents. I bought it at 81. It could easily play around in here. And of course, on the W, I'll go and add some more to this trade. For people, we're heading into tax loss selling season. Remember, I talked about that just a moment ago. There's lots of really interesting little tax loss selling names. This New Carlin, if you're interested in a penny gold stock, they rolled this stock way back here. A nice 10 for 1, cleaned it up. You can see the bottom that came in, options to directors. A whole bunch of site people bought this bottom. And you can see we're sitting right back at that level again. So, there's a great tax loss seller. And they're sitting on a whole pile of gold. They just, of course, it's exploration stock. And then there was another metals name that we had this morning, but I guess I won't go into that. I'll show you those names later on. So stocks look like they're trying to railroad track. Oil looks a little heavy here. Interesting to see the bonds getting thumped here. We haven't broken these lows, so maybe we W out on the bonds. Tough to say. I'm still short, and I'm just going to keep working that trade. But, maybe downsend lines. If we break above there, maybe I'll hop off. Gold here, kind of going sideways. Seasonally, I kind of like the gold space now, but at the same time, too, if this thing does fall apart, you can see where we got a lot of space to go. But, maybe we have sort of a week or two, maybe even into the end of the year, where risk off actually catches a bit of a bid. Yen jumps up, US dollar comes back down against these lows, that kind of thing. So we'll see how that goes. Tough to say. Stocks that actually I'm interested in now, a lot of this is going to be sort of redundant, but hopefully you guys have heard the message recently. Really like this Java. Beautiful looking W's. Picked up a bit of this OCX pharma names. Some of our pharma names have just gone crazy here recently. So I still like that pharma sector. And you can see she's trying to bump up against a W there. And I actually went and bought a little bit of this OSS, the original weekly W you can see down here on the pullback against those levels. I went and bought some of that. So, do your own due diligence. I'm not telling you what to do, not telling you what to buy, what to sell. I couldn't give a rat's ass what you buy or sell. What I'm telling you is what I'm doing with my money. So, caveat emptor, there you go. We'll finish off today, quick boo at crypto and, of course, the corn. Great job by Sjord today, updating and the site progress. Monday is Chief Technology Officer Report Day. He also tells us a little bit about what he's seeing on the corn, and I love it because now we have many different perspectives through the week. And the great part about it is we're actually all seeing very generally the same message, so that's always encouraging. Big picture, big M's working here. Lower highs and lower lows defines a bear, so don't fight it, people. It is what it is. In fact, actually, I looked at a lot of altcoins, even getting ready for this Daily Brief recap video right now. And versus US dollar, I don't see anything. I see tax loss selling. I see a lot of price weakness. Don't chase the ones that have already bottomed and have broke out. And of course, get to know your coin and your story, and hopefully you're buying into a half decent fundamental name. Having said that, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, you can see the market came off to a low here, and we were thinking about 38.2 dead cat bounce rallies, and we couldn't even get back to 38.2s, which is a little disappointing. We have potentially an inside bar here working right now, and basically in the daily brief, I just said, you want to know what your trading range is. This wick up to 38.2 in that key low, there's the top end of the range. That's at about 7,900. And the bottom end of the range, of course, wicks and tails like to be eaten, is this new low, and that's like, about 6,500. I don't really have a problem whatsoever. People like day trading and swing trading through here, but investors, there's no W's here, so just cool your jets. There's just nothing to do. And it kind of sucks because, these videos, we're supposed to be telling you, do this, do that, you make $1 million. And right now, I'm actually, and for the past little while, for investors, I've been like, there just isn't a hell of a lot to do here. We'll finish off, and, I'm sorry for the report, but that is exactly how I feel, so that's all I'm going to say here for this report. I will say, though, if Bitcoin is weak, then I could see a scenario, and this is sort of what we've been kind of thinking about here on the site, is this happens to be a coin that's done relatively well recently, this Algorand as it's moving up. Keep in mind it's a weekly price chart. If I go, and maybe we'll put the candles on this guy. If the top one here is versus Bitcoin and the bottom one here is versus US dollar. And what I kind of see, and I think this kind of tells me the kind of tail of the market, is, generally speaking, good looking W's, market's working its way higher, but notice that the relative to Bitcoin, in my opinion, actually looks a lot stronger than the relative to US dollar. So what that tells me is I like the idea of coins moving up, and we do see a lot of W's versus versus Bitcoin. But outright capital gains versus US dollar, especially with tax loss selling season, I'm kind of going, this isn't the time to be like pounding the table. My hunch is over the next 3 or 4 weeks as we go through the end of the year and then into the beginning of early next year, that's when you're going to see a lot of these sort of weekly W's really start to gel here versus US dollar. But we'll see what happens. If you are trading relative to Bitcoin, then, make money while the sun's shining. On names like this, though, and this was the hard thing, is I wanted to come to you guys in these daily brief recaps and say, okay, well, this is breaking out. This is breaking out. And I don't have anything breaking out in crypto right now. So as a result, that's about the limit of my sort of altcoin commentary right now. So, caveat emptor, do your own due diligence, go slowly here. There's no reason to be in a hurry whatsoever. And especially with this sort of tax loss selling season window here, I find it really hard to believe that we're going to get any massive face rip rallies here until at least the new year. But we'll see what happens. Okay, everybody, I've talked way too much. No idea how long that was, but I've said everything I wanted to say. So have yourselves a great day. All the best, and bye for now.